So today's class is called Networking Elevator Pitch. What to say when networking. So when I say networking is that this skill is not just for job interview. So next time when you meet your client or someone that you feel like there's a need for a quick self-introduction, this is something that you can take with you throughout your career. So I want to start this class with a message. Sell your skills with a quick introduction. The process of creating an elevator pitch helps you to focus on what employer want and helps you specifically demonstrate how you meet their requirement. So when you are forming an elevator pitch for a job interview, it's a chance for you to reflect on what other people want to hear about you, because I'm sure that there are so many things that you can share. But thinking about what they want to hear is a very important step, because most of the time people fail in communication is that we only talk about what we want to say, not what other people need to hear. And that's the time when you lose the attention of the audience. So when you're forming elevator pitch, is a good chance for you to think about what kind of message you need to include in your self-introduction. So create a confidence booster. So if you can introduce yourself very well from the beginning of this interaction, then your confidence level will go up. So that is why it's very important to create this elevator pitch. So interview elevator pitch should be a thorough and concise breakdown of who you are, what you've accomplished, and what makes you a tremendously qualified candidate for a specific position. It's very tricky. You want to include detail, which means thorough, okay? Yet concise. So also have to be very brief, very short, to the point. So now you really have to think about what things you have to take out and what things that you have accomplished that you want to leave in your elevator pitch. Okay, the reason why I say that is elevator pitch has to be very short. Okay, so it's a challenge. Okay, I never say it's easy, so it's going to be a challenge for you to construct this very powerful self-introduction. How short is elevator pitch? So think about it. The name itself is an elevator pitch. So a pitch is kind of like a baseball. You pitch a ball at someone. But in sales is to deliver a quick sales idea. And in an elevator ride. So normally an elevator ride would probably finish in 1 or 2 minutes. But in this case, our elevator pitch has to be around 30 to 60 seconds. 30 seconds, that means that you're very, very good. Okay, it doesn't mean that you have nothing to share, but it just means that your career, you can sum it down to very, very concise. Okay, very, very important, that has a lot of weight in very short amount of time. 60 seconds is very ideal, very general, because you do need to share some information that might require you to spend a little more time, okay? So 30 to 60 seconds to make an impact. So when you think about it, I might have discussed this in this class or other class before. Normally, when people form an opinion about someone, how long do you think they take? 1 minute, 10 minutes, 5 minutes? So a lot of people might have a different idea on how long other people may form an opinion about you, okay? Or you would form an opinion about someone else. But the study shows that we only take 37 seconds to judge people. So that means elevator pitch is so important for you. When you introduce yourself with impact within that 37-second time range, okay, it would be more effective, more efficient than when you prepare for a long job interview question answers. So you have to, succeed from the beginning of the interview. So it's very important for you to prepare from, resume class, cover letter class until now. Everything that we talk about, the key is preparation. And how long do you need? Some of the students ask me, how long do I need to prepare for my job interview? I would say if this is your first time, you need to take more than half a year, 6 months in total, okay? So the reason why is that you really have to think about what you want. No one can tell you what you want. So once you have a clear idea on what you want, then you can start preparing for your resume, cover letter, and once you get, the resume and cover letter perfected and get that interview you want, then you can start preparing for interviews. But it does take a long period of time. I have so many students come to me and say, I have a job interview next week. Can you help me? And I was like, so what can I do in a week? That if you don't take job interviews seriously, if you don't take your career seriously, that you only allow yourself less than a week time to prepare, I don't think I can help. I mean, I can give you some advice, but I'm going to tell you straight up that unless you are super talented or your hard skill is very, very important for the industry, otherwise, it's very, very difficult for you to land the job. So 30 seconds to 60 seconds to make an impact. This is what we're doing today. Okay, how to construct a message that creates enough weight, that has enough substance, that has enough impact. Okay, very, very important and useful lessons for you. So accomplish the following in 60 seconds. So this might seem a lot, okay? So you have to do a lot of things in just under 1 minute. You have to be concise, you have to be persuasive, you have to connect. You also have to try to build that connection. You have to build that rapport with your interviewer and keep the tone professional. So the tone, right now in business, the tone is not our voice. It's also your body language. It's the word choice, okay? So, facial expressions, nonverbal communications, okay? Your tone of voice, your body language, and your facial expression, the visual communication elements, okay? Also your words. So that's the tone. Basically, what kind of characters that you present yourself to be. And number 5 is mention your top skills. Only top skills, not like a little ones that, typing or you're familiar with Microsoft Word. Okay, those are basic skills that you don't need to mention, but top skills. What makes you stand out? Okay, next one, also talk about your goal. It's very important. They will ask you, okay, 90% of the time, interviewer will ask you, so how do you see yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now? They want to see if you have a clear career goal. So it would help them by including that message into your elevator pitch. But you don't have to get into details just yet, but you can touch on what your goals would be, okay? And number 7 is answering big questions. So there's no clear answer what big questions might be, but you need to think about what things that your interviewers would like to hear. Okay, so things like that. The job that requires you to travel around, the job requires you to relocate, and you also want to touch on that you're open to relocation, or you are flexible with a schedule. You can also include that information in 60 seconds if you think it's very important to include. And number 8 is be ready to follow up. Okay, to be ready to follow up means that the things you said, okay, because it's a 60-second quick introduction, they will ask you more questions. So you have to be ready for the things that you covered in your elevator pitch. your interviewers would need to ask more details about something. So be prepared to follow up. All right? So 8 points in 60 seconds. Do you think you can do that? I think you can. So let's get to the first step. Let's start with why. Okay. If this is the first time joining my class, I always like to start my class. Always, not, I would say almost always. I start with why. The reason why is that I need you to understand the principle of why we do such things. I don't want to be someone who just tell you that just do it, don't think about it. Okay, I want you to fully understand and believe that I can guide you through this job-seeking process. So starting with why is very, very important. Next, so consider this. An advantage of using an elevator pitch when speaking about your career or aspiration is that you can take the lead. What does that mean? So it's an advantage, okay? Of course, everything we do in a job interview has to be strategic. We don't want to be passive, even though the interviewers are taking the lead most of the time. But in elevator pitch, talking about your career, talking about your aspirations, talking about what inspires you, you are taking the lead because you're leading that conversation. So if you want to talk about your career, if you talk about your skills, and the interviewer will say, so you mentioned your skill in your introduction that you do this and that, and could you tell me more about it? Then you'll be like, aha, I got it, okay? Because you're leading. You are setting up a limit for that conversation because you bring up your strength in your elevator pitch. So the follow-up question will be most likely to center around what you talk about, okay? And also your aspiration, your goals, okay? They'll be centering around what you said, very most likely. So it's an advantage. So we start in the beginning to set that anchor in the beginning. So let's take a look at utilizing elevator pitch. Reason number 1. So get to the point. Get to the point. Your hiring manager has a lot on the plate. Would prefer that your first few sentences catch their attention. A lot on the plate, meaning that, interviewing you is not the only job that they need to do on the day. They might have maybe 10, 20 candidates lining up, waiting for this interview to finish so the interviewer can move on to the next person. If your first sentence catch their attention very quickly, make yourself stand out, that would be very, very effective. So get to the point. And reason number 2 for you to use elevator pitch is that small bites are easily digestible. So that means that when you cut down smaller information, information in smaller chunks, okay? In elevator pitch, because everything is just essentials, you don't talk about too much details, okay? So it's easier for the interviewers to digest the information, to get a really quick outline about you, okay? So concise pieces of information are more easily internalized. So let the message sink in, that's internalized. And follow, because bullet-pointed answers are easily for comprehension and note-taking, okay? So remember that we talk about thorough. That means, doesn't mean that you get into details, okay? Thorough means that you talk about every single achievement that you think it's related, that's very important, related to the job that you are applying for. And you do a bullet-pointed answers. Okay, we'll talk about how to do that later. It's comprehensible and note-taking. So basically, your response in an elevator pitch helps interviewers to take notes about you because you're giving them the importance of your career outline. But if you give them like a long story, and they just really can't focus on what you said because they're probably thinking about, okay, so what do I have to do on the project? And the meeting tomorrow, what do I have to prepare for? So they're thinking about other things. So if you don't help them to shorten and concise the message, it's very difficult for them to hear what you want to say, okay? Next one is to leave them wanting more. Okay, so it's the same thing. It's short messages, important messages, make people want to hear more about your story. So when you keep your job interviews introduction concise and succinct, means very short and to the point, as well as the rest of your answers, this helps evoke and maintain curiosity. Okay, it's human nature. Okay, when you just stop at, when the story is about to get to the climax and you stop, okay, and the interviewer will be like so eager to like, tell me more. So I have to ask a follow-up question. I need to know more about this person. So it creates this curiosity, evoke curiosity. So it's very, very interesting to see how human mind work, okay? So it's good to have elevator pitch that's prepared beforehand so you can always adjust, revise for the effect of evoking curiosity.